Keyboard-driven development is how I used to call it. So, way back when Andrew, the young lad at the back, wasn't even born, some of us used computers just with keyboards. It was a sad state of affairs. I was like yay high myself, so I wasn't that big. But we had little documents like this, and we used a keyboard, and we moved around, and we thought it was genuinely excellent. And we played games and all sorts. And then Windows came out. Some people started to say they stole it from Apple, made it amazing. And we had a mouse, and we used to click everything everywhere. And if it wasn't working, we'd click harder, and we'd still keep going. And that's the way we do it. And I remember I was about 12 at the time, and I had to buy a mouse for my Amstrad PCW at the time, and it cost like £120, and it was amazing. And this wasn't always, singing or dancing mouse like Ben has with his gaming rig, with all the buttons in the world. This was a 2-button mouse with a rollerball. Wow, it was amazing. And it had a little green expansion module that was like bigger than the PC that it plugged into, and I clicked everything, and it was immense until it got stuck. And then I got told off for breaking it, so that's that. But then Star Trek promised us more. Some of us grew up watching Jean-Luc promise us and do all these things. We have touch interfaces where you tap on everything, and you'd have these little iPad-like devices that's, it must have just come from someone's imagination. And it had voice interaction, which I always thought weird that data would talk to the computer when data actually could process data quicker than the computer in most scenarios, but we ignore that one. So we got touch. Who here has a phone with a touch screen on it? Yay. Even I currently have a phone with a touch screen, an iPhone 4, people. This is what happens when you cycle with your phone in your pocket and it rains and your beloved phone stops working, and then all weekend you have screen which is either broken or you get your iPhone 4 out. So even the kids have touch screens and are used to it. I've got 2 kids now, and they're so used to using tablets, and in school Alexander's there tapping and doing all stuff. He comes home and he touches the flipping television every time, and there's finger marks everywhere. And it doesn't matter how many times I say, it's not a touch screen, he still touches it. We tap, we swipe, we zoom, we do all this stuff, which is more natural for us. But our kids expect better, so I saw this little kid earlier, and this child is very confused. What do you mean I can't play Pokemon using touchscreens? What's going on? Imagine Minecraft. This is just, I'm just going to watch it again because it is genuinely excellent. I can just imagine next it's just going to be thrown on the floor, because that's what happens next. But this is true. This is exactly what we are used to. So all those input methods, they all have physical interaction. You know when you have to touch something, grab hold of something, flip and hit something if you need to. And they're multi-minute tasks. To do most things, you've got to use it, unlock it, do whatever, and do it. And it requires your attention. It's very hard, although I have seen some millennials be able to do this, walking along, texting with your phone, whilst paying attention to crossing roads. Although some people manage to manage it. I, however, do not. I have proved this and fallen over. But a 1-minute task, I just want to log in and see how many people are doing this, or what's the latest book score, or whatever else you're into. How many people are streaming Twitch? That's one that having that conference does that. You've got a YouTube device to find it and do it. So it's a simple 1-minute task where you could just say blah blah blah. It takes several. So this is the problem. How do we build software for 30-second interactions? So these are people who aren't, most of us here will use computers day in, day out for our jobs. This is what we do. In fact, some of us will then go home and get their laptops and carry on using these devices day in, day out. So we know we're inside out. I know if my laptop's running a little bit slow or if someone's messed around with it. Some people, they use computers 10 minutes of their day, 20 minutes of their day, and God bless my mum, she doesn't really know computers at all. In fact, there was this one time, I was going to say it, I'm going to go for it now, she saw ScanDisk working on my PC when I was really, really young, and she thought it was a game. So she's like, is that a new game you've got? And it's just checking, no mum, that's just checking my computer's good. She doesn't even know how to turn it on or off. She feared that when she was cleaning, that she could touch the mouse and that I would wreck the internet or something along those lines. You know, these were genuine fears. So she's there now, and she works in blood service, and she has to use a computer now, flipping computers are everywhere. And she looks like, she's, oh, all these people, multi-fingers, she's got one finger. She doesn't even use two hands. She's got one finger she uses to type all this stuff in. And I've watched her, and it's like, I'm sat there like dying. I don't know if I'm like in work when I'm sat there, going, come on people, this is good, this takes 2 minutes. So how do we take these processes and turn them into 30 seconds? So why not use voice? And then I go, oh, that's a good idea. Apart from when I think everyone sounds different. I've got a quite southern accent, I'm still told. Adam has quite a northern accent, which is specialist. Doesn't voice recognition suck? And I think, voice recognition is amazing, apart from when I used to use it with like Windows XP, when it came out with voice recognition, you could say, computer, open your start menu, open calculator, and then it just sat there for ages not knowing what you're doing. Or Dragon software. I've got Dragon on there, which is probably really sad to put on there. I remember trying to use it for my dissertation when I was in uni, trying to voice transcribe what I was saying, and I just gave up. It was atrocious. Now apparently you can train it to get it better, but no, I could not, so I gave up on that one. So yeah, voices worked, but it's often a lot harder than keyboard and mouse interaction. Some people can type a lot quicker, they can speak it and get it recognized. So do we give up on voice? Well, no, this time it's kind of different, because we have what Chris has been talking about, the cloud. This magical place where magic happens and the right answer occasionally comes out. And that's the key answer there. So what we have now is our voices, and we have the cloud constantly monitoring us and surveilling us, even though it's got a red ring on it. So we could effectively remove the computer. So people who are only, their day-to-day job is something very differently than using a computer or using their phones or whatever. So if they want to know, actually, we use a construction example because that's what we use, how many people are on a construction site, or actually, what's the overall summary, are there first aiders, or questions they might call somebody to go say, can you log onto whatever system and find out blah blah blah. They could just use their voice and do it without trying to use their stubby fingers or trying to put their faces on scanners and all that stupid stuff that people do. So let's remove the computer. So we could ask a question and get an answer, and apparently it's that simple. The dream is you just say computer or Echo or Alexa or Cortana. Apparently some people do say Cortana, it's a thing. And Siri, which everybody tells Siri go away, to do stuff. So we can use a modern voice interface, is how I phrase this. So I think the difference is, and I was wondering about this, when we're trying to use Dragon and we're trying to use other voice commands, we're trying to say lots of words at it and have to recognize every single one of those words as we're going. You're trying to dictate a paragraph, it's no good if it only recognizes every other word, because it would never make any sense. So the modern voice interface is about focusing on specific keywords, not just commands and interfaces, so you have to say exact words to do something. It's about saying, what's your intention in the interface? So I've got at the bottom of the slide, an Uber app, for example. Say you wanted to use an Uber and you're going to use your voice. Some people might say, can you call us a taxi? Other people might say, call us a cab. Someone will have some acronym that use gangsters use. I don't know what it is, but there'll be one. There'll be only, sorry?
A Joe?
A Joe. I don't, what is that? Okay. Alexa, note this down for me. Get me out of here, this is weird. Yeah, but that's true. That's actually where local dialects and differences in, even the English language, like other languages, people use different words. So previously in our software, we had to do all of those types of commands. When we say you respond to ordering a taxi, you have to program it, ordering a taxi, ordering a cab. Apparently we'd have a language pack for a Joey. I think that's where that would go. And then we get there. So what cloud providers have done, so Amazon and Microsoft and Apple with the Siri, and even Google are into this now. They say, right, let's focus on the keywords. You as developers, you take keywords and we're feeding them to your app. We're figure out what on earth people said in that 3 seconds blurb speech you just go to in various speeds and various, different voices are higher or lower, or whether it's the quality of it. And we're handled that in the cloud. We're figuring out the natural language part. We're figuring out that someone's actually saying this in a sentence. So that way, your app via skills, which is that keyword, basically a skill, we're saying if someone's going to give you a sentence or a phrase, here's the bits of information you want. So, for example, you could say, MSI, I want to know how many people there are on the first floor. Actually, the app only cares about people on the first floor, but you still want the users to say all the words. So you just say, Amazon, just give me the bits we're interested in. So if the user gets the information or functionality they want, regardless of the words they use in some example, taxi or cab. So, how do we do this? Well, the key thing is to focus on what you want to surface to the user. We could all build voice interfaces that go on forever, and you could say, order me a pizza. What do you want? Pepperoni or cheese or this? And you just be there forever, and that wouldn't feel natural. You could do that. People have done that with banking system. Also say, did you say yes or did you say one or two? Say one for blah blah blah. Say two for blah blah blah. When actually you want someone just to say, I want a pepperoni pizza, 14-inch, preferably hot. That's what you want. So people should be able to do that, not have to say, order a pizza, pepperoni, sometime today, please. So rather than this QA form, let's work into sentences and that sort of stuff. So obviously the key examples people are using at the moment is smart homes, because we all have smart homes. So we can turn on the light with our voice rather than sending a kid to do it. That's what I do. Although sometimes they do it in the middle of the night, regardless of whether you said turn on the light or not. I feel I need to tune that part of my algorithm with more stairgates and gates. I need it. But yeah, that's the idea. Next thing I'll be 3D printing things, to restrain them. So, what are these workflows? So I'm going to focus on Amazon a little bit because recently I went on a developer day with them, and it's a common one. How many people have heard of Alexa? Right, everyone. How many people have tried to write something for Alexa? A couple of people. That's quite good. How many people think Alexa's a good idea? Everyone's a bit so. We've got some interesting bits about Alexa. So how they're trying to do it, Amazon trying to do it. They're trying to involve it into your everyday life. So there's two ways. One, which are flash briefings. So the idea, if you're trying to write software, we're thinking of it from that business perspective. If you've got a product or software and you want people to interact with it, how can you present your information? So you've got flash briefings. So Neil, who's gone, actually I'm going to talk about them because that's the best way. He's got a little Alexa in his room, and he'll wander in and say, Alexa, give me an update. And then we'll go through his favourite interests, whatever they are, doing random running and flipping marathon stuff, and say, here's the news, you've got a meeting coming up at 2, that sort of stuff. So they're flash briefing, brief bits of information. So actually as developers, we can add stuff that goes into those flash briefings. So if someone comes in and they can say, Alexa, it's okay, I've got to do stuff, I've got to look at it before I say it. Alexa, give me an update. You can have your software tag something into that, which might be useful. You could have, Alexa, is my 3D printing ready? And it could say, hey, it is. Or more like, no, it's kind of a bit of a mess. You should have a look at it. It's a big problem. So that's one way of doing it, but that's very limited interaction. That's literally saying, Alexa, give me an update, and you just blur everything out. There's no interactions there. So the next way you can do it is called custom skills. And these are really what we're talking about. These actions with arguments. So Alexa can give you a single response, or it can ask and say, or it could say, here's some information, would you like some more, or would you like to do something else with it? So my example was events like this is a nice easy one to say, Alexa, how many people are on our construction site? And then you could say X amount, and you could say, okay, how many of those are first aiders? So it's about building a conversational flow. Chris mentioned about chatbots and how all that stuff's taken off. So it's kind of taking that text-based form and turning it into interactive voice, which is quite cool. So this is where it could go really well or really wrong. I'm prepping you for this. Demo time. Now, I'm going to turn on Alexa. Don't any of you shout anything. Because the other day, somebody who I'm looking at over there shouted out, Alexa, play some Funkadelic. And then I got home And on my Amazon account, I had Funkadelic as recommended offers for me. You should buy it, yeah. Okay, so if all goes well, Alexa, open Msite.
Good evening, MJ. Would you like a site summary?
Yes, please. Oh, sales environment might have turned off. It's going to be a bad demo.
Your M-site summary as of 8:55 p.m. There are 88 people on site, of which 0 are first aiders and 0 are fire marshals. There have been 17 incidents.
No, so you can do that. No, so I really regret turning it off now. So earlier it was also telling you all of these incidents, and some of them were quite funny. Because in our system you can add what the incidents are for, and we have like what's it called at the field? We need to do we need to chuck them in the deadliness factor of them. So we have some which are quite deadly, so they're quite funny, but I've removed them. So that was just me interacting and saying, actually, I've opened the app and I've asked the site. But what I'm more likely to do is say, Alexa, how many people are on the first floor?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Alexa, how many people are on site?
Sorry, I don't know that.
Alexa's disappointing me today. Adam knows it works because sometimes it does. I'm not going to carry on with it because Alexa, you're dead to me. So it's a true world, but you can see how it could work, and it does often work really well. The problem with Alexa actually, and these voice systems, or it is about clarity of speech and what you can take out. Unfortunately, she's not responding to me on this one. But the idea is you can have these long, applications purely driven by voice. But I think more likely how we interact is just ask a question. So Alexa, what's the current queue time in Liverpool Airport? Because you're trying to get your flight and you don't want to be there for hours. When you can say there's no queue, all right, 20 minutes to go, like everyone does. And then one of the does a queue. So that's the idea. So apparently I'm not focused anymore, so I'm just going to tweak this. So basically, when to use voice, I think this is quite cool, because I know my personal experiences is, just new and shiny, let's write a load of crap apps that do this sort of stuff. We've all seen them, we've got them on our phones, we find them quite cool for maybe a little while. But when's good to use voice? Actually, when people's hands full are quite a good one, when people physically can't do something. So I always think it's a good idea if someone is trying to get to a meeting, they're carrying all their stuff, we could say, actually, Alexa, order me a taxi and carry all my stuff. I need to be there, or what's the weather like, because somehow I'm going to carry an umbrella as well, or something. And when it's an easier and more natural way to interact. For a lot of people, trying to use a phone and type in or using a computer is actually a barrier to entry. To using or doing stuff, so voice might be more natural, and hopefully it'll be a more efficient experience. However, if a user is trying to use my software currently, I think you might have thrown your Alexa out the window, which I'm actually responds, which looks sad, but there we are. So when not to use voice, there are times when saying things out loud aren't the best of ideas. So for things you don't want to say aloud, don't use Alexa. I'm not going to dwell on that one. Precision tasks, that hard to revise to say. Actually, I put this point on there ages ago. I didn't really think about it. So on the weekends, I was tweaking this demo. Apparently, I didn't spend well enough on it. But I was trying to say, on Saturday, because I was trying to cheat, I was going to say, Alexa, ask him, where is Michael James? Because, I like to put my name and everything. And he was going to say, hi, Michael. Michael James is in the first floor, but you already knew that, didn't you? Because you were asking me something along these lines. But there's a problem there. Alexa understands first names. You can capture first names. There's many, but there's a finite number. But last names, it can't actually know. So when you build these Alexa skills, it's looking for keywords, key bits for sayings. So I can say taxi, cab, and all that sort of stuff. You can have first names, Michael, John, etc., etc. When it comes to last names, there's just flipping thousands of the damn thing. So Alexa doesn't know what to do, and it often gets confused. So I was actually speaking to some Amazon people about this, and others on the forums actually, when there's a built-in Alexa type for first name, but what about last names? And it basically went, because it doesn't work. So I was thinking I was going to be really clever and say, where's Joe Blogs on your site, or etc., etc. but it wouldn't work because there's too much information there. It's really hard to verbalize and get understood, or it seems trivial to us. Trying to explain to the computer to say, I would like X, Y, Z, doesn't work. So that's really unfortunate. Challenging recognition phrases, words that are really similar. So there are scenarios. Can you get me to Wales, or so in the country, say in the directions app, can you take me to Wales? Or is that Wales, W-E-L-L-S, Wales the country, or Wales Arctic Exploring, or something. So in these phrases, that's really hard. Not suited to the environment, i.e. Alexa being in a construction environment, probably a little bit too noisy. So it's not going to work very well. Although these devices are excellent and they've got 8 microphones in them and can capture a whole room like this, it's fine. But as soon as earlier, when there were lots of people in the room and everyone was chatting, I was trying to prep her, get her ready for the demo, just couldn't hear me, just couldn't figure me out. So that's not a good environment. And actually, when a traditional method makes more sense, it is easier for someone to walk over to someone and tap, punch in. It's probably easier to do so than it is to say, Alexa, open MSAC and punch me in. That's the differences. So, what are our takeaways? Different platforms, same story. So, I mentioned we have Amazon, we have flipping Siri, we have Cortana, we have Google, whatever it's called. Different platforms, but they're practically all the same story. They all work for, give me some keywords, we'll feed those to your app, you give me the data back, and I put it for you. Each platform varies slightly on how you can customize how it says what you're saying. So there's some really clever stuff with how you can make it say acronyms and bits and pieces, but it's all pretty much the same. And in fact, they're so similar that Microsoft and Amazon are now saying, we're going to make it possible that Cortana can be used from Alexa. Alexa can use Cortana can use Alexa, so they're going to go vice versa. So that's going to be quite nice, but they're pretty much the same. So our software, we're talking about our software, we just need to provide hooks for these services to get in. So I've got the code for my weird demo there, which I can show people, and it's literally a Lambda function, equivalent with the Azure one, and it's literally a little bit of code. It gets some keywords parsed in. I then would hit a web service or DB or whatever. I shut the results out. That's all good. Quick tasks are the best with Alexa, and and other ones. She actually only listens for about up to, I think it's 3 seconds by default, but you can extend how long she's listening. So you can't give her loads and loads and loads and loads to understand, to process, because it's all got to go up to the cloud, it processes and the cloud comes back. So they're trying to keep it really short and sweet, which is one way to get it out. So if you're trying to interact with a cooking app, for example, for recipes, it's quite easy because it's just turn a page, or look this up with dial-up. What you couldn't do is have a dictation app or something which is a lot longer. It just doesn't work. Avoid complicated workflows. I haven't gone into it too much, but I had a brief in my demo. I said, open them site, and then she said, blah, 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 would you like a site summary? I think it was. And I said, yes, please. Or I could say, no, thank you. And then she could ask, I could ask her questions. So basic workflows are fine. What you don't want is a 10-part skill where you've got to give it 10 steps because you confirm it back to you and say, did you say this? And you go, yeah, da, da, da. It just doesn't work. People don't use it. They give up. A really good app I saw the other day, it's kind of sad because it's related to a game. I was playing Legendary board game with cards, and I saw a skill, it's only available in America, I've got it, where you could just say, Alexa, ask Legendary, whatever it was, what does this rule mean, whatever the rule is, and it just plays it back to you. So actually in the game scenario, that was really helpful, but I wouldn't have to go through all the Alexa X, Y, Z steps to get to that point. Just for really brief ones, it was perfect. Summary data, which is what we're saying now, which is excellent. So, if you want to know more about Alexa, I'm going to plug another course. So, this Thursday, on the 28th, the Google Developer Group, Liverpool, they are having an Amazon evening. So, they've got the first session is going to be about the TV apps, TV Fire Stick apps, which is going to be good. And then they've got a whole half hour or so dedicated, to Alexa. So if this does interest you or intrigue you, I speak to people there, actually some of them I saw at the Amazon event I went to Manchester the other week. they're going to be really good. So if it intrigues you, this Thursday, sign up. It's just in Liverpool city centre, and that's it. And that's it on that one. So thank you very much for your time.